Hello again everyone, and welcome to the last in this little mini-series. And welcome to our channel, Dinos Simulations. I'm Dinos. This is, as I say, the final one. It doesn't have to be, but I wanted to create this initial mini-series, First Steps Learning the Basics to Arc Ascended. So I'm hoping that you're finding the other videos useful. I wanted to do it in a slightly different way to some of the other content provided for Arc Ascended, so it's very much going through the process with you. If you found that helpful and useful and you actually want me to continue this mini-series, then that's definitely something we could do. But don't worry, I'll be making lots of content in relation to Arc Ascended, going into more detail probably about some of the things we've talked about already in future videos, and also as you progress into mid-game and potentially even the later games. So without further ado, let's get into the final episode. Okay, so we're going to load back in here, and if you remember, we'd finished, or kind of started our build, but we'd got as far as finishing the shell of our house just as the sun was setting. Here we go, at 9 PM. Look at our house, doesn't it look so nice? Okay, so I think we agreed it's not the most attractive house, but you know what? It's kind of cool. It feels like a bit of a milestone. So, as ever, we're getting back into the game. Let's just review a couple of things that we've done over the 5 episodes here, and I'm going to hopefully try and recap on a couple of things just in case you're joining us on this first video. Do feel free to go back and watch the others if you haven't seen those already. If you haven't subscribed, please do that as well, and of course we love hearing from you, so do feel free to leave any comments. That also helps us with any future content, so if there's specific questions that you have or something that I discussed on the channel that confused you, feel free to ask and we can definitely look into that for some future content. So as we look into the inventory here, this is where I've got some smaller items. If you remember, I said I was going to store berries and things in here just to keep it a bit more structured, so that's okay here. For the moment I'm going to use this as my main storage, and you can see I'm starting to actually get quite a lot of food stored up. So there's a couple of extra things I want to show you as we finish our house build, and ultimately at the end of this session hopefully leave you finding your own path, because this really will conclude the first step into Arc Ascended. And let me tell you, this represents such a minute part of the whole game, but I think this setup is really important. I think when I first played it, I probably spent several hours being killed by those seagulls. Honestly, it was so frustrating, and I really just thought I'm never going to be able to play and enjoy this game. So I'm hoping that the series will help you to avoid all of those challenges that I had. And, you know, again, it's not a tutorial series. I'm not wanting you to stick to everything that I'm doing. You might decide to spawn in a totally different area. You might come into contact with totally different creatures. And we are going to be discussing hopefully all the creatures at some point, but I believe at last count there's well over 100 at least in the base game, and there's more with TLC updates and some DLC content that you might want to explore to be better understanding. And again, I'd love to do that on the channel, and hopefully you can continue to follow the journey. So let's have a quick look at any of the things I want to transfer over. We can pick up the bed, that's not doing very much, and some of the other things. So let's go over to the house. Now, because it's only a small house, you're probably going to find that there's not much light. So when we go in here, that might be a bit of a problem, but it's okay. I'm going to get set up. Again, don't feel you've got to do lots at this stage, we just want to get things set up in a nice neat way. So I'm going to put my bed over there. If I can, I'm going to try and free up one of these storage boxes. Yep, so could do that, press transfer, or just do transfer all. This is the only other thing that's a little bit clunky about the beginning game. Going backwards and forwards and putting things into the build and moving around. There are some life improvement mods, and we will talk about those in upcoming videos. I didn't want to make this starter video too confusing and throw lots of things at you. Really wanted it to be as accessible for everyone to get started. Now, I don't like the look of that, what do you think? yeah, maybe have some storage at the bottom. There's a couple of other things I want to get started on. Did we build the standing torches in the end? I think we talked about it, but I don't think I actually built them. No. So let's go to crafting and let's think about creating some torches. So what do I need for that? I need some flint, I need some stone, I need some wood, and I need some thatch. And how many can I make here? Okay, I can only make one, which is a bit annoying, because it's also taking up quite a lot. You can see that I don't need that much wood, so I'm going to go to this split stack again and just take out 3 wood, because I just want 2 here. I'm going to transfer that back over, and that will help with the weight. Similarly, for the stone, because that's quite heavy, I'm going to just split 1 that time and transfer. And you know what, I'll do that with this as well. So split stack 1 and transfer. So really start to get used to doing that, so that makes that as easy as possible. All I now have to do is get a bit more thatch. And again guys, remember what I'm trying to do here is kind of fast track a few things for you, but also not take away the adventure of the game. One thing that you'll constantly notice I'm having to do is to get more of the supplies. You know what that sound is? Yep. I don't know what level this guy is, level 35, but I was ready for him. That's just more meat to cook. So, I think I have enough to create, yeah, well I've got 1 of them, and I just quite like this as a starter base to put 1 there. Need to put some thatch in so that I can light, and that means I haven't got any thatch left, so you know what, I'm going to get a bit more. But definitely if I was playing this as my own solo game, I would be spending a good bit of time now harvesting some of the materials, but to be honest, I don't tend to do that until I've set up this first space. I think that just makes everything so much easier, and I promise you, if you think about doing that early on, then it just saves you the hassle of having to do it later and then having to transfer everything. And I think that is one of the main things that in a way put me off watching too many alternative videos about Ark Ascended, because I didn't want to feel that everything was being explained, and I wanted to be able to explore it in different ways and understand the game in different ways. But there are definitely tricky elements to it, and some things you just can't really learn through playing. Like that, for example, I just went into first person with the mouse wheel just to get set up on there. So there you go, doesn't that look nice? And it just makes everything a little bit easier to see. So I've got 1 of my storage boxes. I'm going to see if I can move any more in here. So I've only got 4 slots in there now, so what I might need to do is move some of these other things out. Nope, that's ready to pick up, so I'm going to do that as well. And this is, you know, just the way I like to build my first house and set up. You definitely don't have to do it this way. You could also be thinking about making the house in certain ways. I know in other playthroughs what I did was I actually, yeah, I'm going to put another one here. I actually set up an area on the island where I started making buildings, and I was experimenting with using all the pieces, and I was watching different videos about how to build houses, because I'm not super creative with building houses. I tend to respond better to a visual and to copy it rather than invent the whole thing myself. But again, I think sometimes you just have to try it, and one thing that I have enjoyed about playing the game several times and restarting and trying some of the other maps is that it really gives you a chance to learn new things every time you play. And actually I find that really enjoyable about the game, so don't feel that all you have to do is spend time on the ascension, because that's definitely not the only thing to be gained from playing the game. Now you'll notice that I'm just checking in with my dinos every once in a while. They get these upgrades, and this is also a real advantage of taming in the early game, because of course if I can keep Molly and these others alive, they'll just keep improving, so it doesn't matter that I haven't found a super high level, especially in the early game, as long as you can keep them alive of course, because then I can continue to add them in and continue to upgrade them. So there was one other thing I wanted to add in, and I don't know whether I've upgraded that. I haven't, so let's go back to our engrams here. Now look, I've got 379 because I've been focused on so many other things with the video that I haven't done any of these others. So let's do a decor box. We're going to play around with that. Let's do, well, we could do a spyglass, but I don't have crystal yet, so I'm not so bothered. I definitely want to do a parasol saddle. I think we can get that sorted. Look, I can get my bow now, and I can get stone arrows, so we should do that. Not going to build in wood for the minute, so I'm not bothered about that. This was added, so this should be showing, I think, as part of the main base game. I would get this. This is really cool. I won't be able, probably won't get round to it in this video, but maybe in an upcoming video we'll explore that. But basically with this, what you can do is any creature that you kill, you can get the dermis. So you have to use the taxidermy tool on a recently killed creature and you will get the dermis, and that will then allow you to mount it on this taxidermy base. And what's really cool is you mount it and then it basically looks like a miniature of the creature, and you can put these in your house. It's a really cool decorative item, and you can set the creature in about, I think, 6 or 7, maybe even 10 poses, so it looks really cool. So imagine if you killed a Rex and took the dermis off that and had a taxidermy base, you could get a really cool, pretty much life-size Rex. They are more miniature, but you can put them in your house. So, and you can do that with literally every dino, so that's a really cool thing. So I would definitely add that in, and I'll be putting those in my future bases. So if we continue on, I'm not going to worry about any of the wood. Cementing paste, it was something you can do in the mortar and pestle, but again, I'm not worried about it at this stage. We've got our hide items, and adobe, by the way, this is suited better for scorched earth because you need clay, so you probably aren't going to be building adobe structures in the island. So gravestone, again, this is a bit of role playing. You could build that and put it outside, and every time you die you could, I don't know, drag your corpse there if you like and make a whole graveyard. That might be quite cool. A bit macabre, but see how you get on. I'm not too worried about that. We could tame a trike, so we could get the trike saddle at level 16. Water intake, this is really for when you're starting to think about growing crops or needing water in the base. Again, this is a particular upgrade, so we don't need to worry too much about it. The main one I wanted to highlight was the preserving bin. So if you look here, burns spark powder at low temperatures to dehydrate food and kill bacteria and keeps perishables. So it's basically your fridge. You need the storage box. It would add it in if you hadn't already. Definitely going to get that. I don't really need anything else. We've not seen raptors yet, but we've not been doing loads of exploring, so I'm going to leave that. Could get a couple of other things in the house. This is just the way I like to build. I like to get a wood table because I can put the mortar and pestle on there. So if we can, I might end up doing that, and I'm going to try this episode to kit out my basic house just to show you some starter things. We haven't done any work as of yet towards getting our refining forge, our smithy and our metal materials, and that will be the next series of videos, and we will be likely picking up from the end of this video into that next section, and we will be exploring then how to get to your metal weapons, which really feels like a jump up, and how to use the refining forge and the smithy. But for now, we're just getting set up in our basic house. So everything else isn't really that important. We could mess around with some other things in here, but I think for the purpose of what I want to show you today, there's not too many other things. By the way, if you didn't manage to get anything out of the drops, the pike is here, but again, that's a metal weapon. Crossbow is also here, so that is a upgraded version of the bow, but we haven't even got the bow yet, so again, don't need to particularly get that. Water jar is here. Again, you need crystals, so you can see already we're starting to need other things that we don't actually have access to. One other thing that is really good to have, and again it takes a little bit of getting, is the fireplace. I would at some point get a fireplace even in my starter home, but that would be probably the first upgrade before thinking about getting a refinery and a smithy. So do think about getting that. The advantage there is you're not using the campfire. It's set in the house and you have 4 slots to put food in, so you can cook food longer, which just makes it a little bit easier to manage, especially if you get any of the prime cuts and you want to cook those. It can be a bit of a pain. Even just cooking 4 can be a bit of a pain, but it's definitely easier to manage. So that's probably as far as I would go in the house, because everything else is going to need metal, which we don't really have access to at this stage. So the preserving bin was the main one. We've sorted out the standing torches, so again I'm going to go back to crafting, going to go preserving bin, and I'd just like to get 1 at this stage, but I do want to move everything else over. I'm going to need a couple of these large storage boxes. They also work as bookshelves, so I'm going to show you that when I get in here, but the bookshelves are for specific storage, so it's for something called a blueprint, which we haven't come across yet, and also for recipes that you might use with the cooking pot. There's no need at this stage. I'm not going to use it, but I will show you it. I do, however, want to get some things in my inventory, so I'm going to take over some fibre, definitely going to take over the stone, I'm going to take over the wood. Haven't got any thatch. I'm actually nearly there, so I only need 10 thatch. Can't move very fast, so again, this is where there you go, there's some trees over here, they're not too far away, but this is where spending a little bit of time on collecting some of those materials in the early game can start to prove really useful, because then you're not having to run around as you start doing this upgrade. But I do feel that if you do it in that way, and then you upgrade to your base, then you can really start upgrading and moving your way through the game. Some people don't like to do that, some people like to wait until later to worry about a base, and they might literally just have a bit of foundation and work from there. Again, it depends on your playstyle. I just don't like that as a part of the game, because I feel that the build part of the game and the overall aesthetic of the game, I want to just really enjoy being in the world and creating something. So for me, there's no rush on that. So I'd say really enjoy that. Don't speed through it, because I think otherwise you miss so many really interesting parts of the game. And of course, the more you do that, the more experience you're going to get of building all of these things. So we've got enough now to create an additional one, which is perfect. I'm going to need a little bit more wood for the preserving bin, so you know what, I do want that. I'm going to go this way and find another tree. Yep, I think I need to go up here again, but that's alright. Don't need too much wood, just another 15 or so. Let's see, I managed to find my way around here. Could use the torch here, by the way. Remember we did that in the previous episode. So if I've still got it in here, although I think I'll put it back in. Yeah, I mean, I can't even craft one at this stage, so I'm not going to worry about it. But I could have put that on my belt, and that would help, because it's 1 AM in the morning. But actually, I've got a fair bit of light here. So you can see now I've got enough space for the preserving bin. So preserving bin is going to be there. And one other thing that I haven't done yet is sorted out my mortar and pestle. So I'm going to put that on there as well. So, things are looking pretty good. I think Molly's still doing her thing. Because I've loaded that up with thatch, it burns fairly slowly. I think if I was to leave in 100 thatch, that might last for like 2 or 3 full day cycles, so it lasts a fair while. But you can store quite a lot in there. And I think that actually makes the game look really nice. I think they've done really well with the lighting in this game. So let's have a look at what I can make. Preserving bin, I think I just made that, didn't I? So I'm going to put that in my hotbar, and I'm going to also put the storage, and this is going to make this so much easier. So I don't have loads of space in here, so I think you have to be a little bit savvy, but I'm going to put the storage here. Now I did say you can do different, so if I did bookcase I can do that, but you can see then I can't store, I'm trying to transfer that, I can't store other things in here. So the bookshelf is blueprints, notes and other small trinkets, so at this stage you don't need it. So it's exactly the same item, just like the other things, you just press R and it changes through, but we want the main bookcase. Now I am going to potentially get 2 in here, so the other way that I do it is I put these actually on the side, and if we continue the series, if I end up wanting to put say a smithy in here, I'm going to start running out of space. Now I can hear seagulls again, which is stressing me out. Oh god, he's all the way up there. Right, let's just see what we can do. Preserving bin I definitely want to put in, so let's just do that first. And to be honest, you could put that inside or outside of the house. Sometimes I like to actually store it outside, but I'm going to put it there. Now, I can store all of the meat in here, but again, I haven't got any spark powder in here, and in order to get spark powder, I need my mortar and pestle. I'm going to need a few more items for that, so I'm not going to worry about that at this stage, because I still need to transfer everything over. The other thing as well, you've probably noticed most of my weapons are about to die, so if I can improve those, so the hatchet can be improved, so I'm just going to repair that. This one can't be because I've used everything, and you know that's alright, that's going to last a little while, so I'm not so worried. So I'm going to take some of the lighter things. Fibre is pretty light, hide is pretty light, and then a bunch of other things. Berries start to get quite heavy, and some of those other elements, so I'll just take those for the minute. And this is where moving base can become a little bit annoying. You could load up your Tames, And this is why I was saying to you, yep, we could have gone over the water, but that would have taken a whole extra time to move everything. And so actually by doing that, it makes it super straightforward, and it gives me an opportunity to think about how I want to store everything. Remember, I've got these little storage boxes, so for the moment I'm going to put some of the smaller elements in there. Once you get a smithy has, I believe, 75 blocks for storage, so a smithy is a really great upgrade. But for now, I'm going to just continue to put things where they will go. Sorry, I was just thinking about what I was doing then, and then that little trumpet went off. I've got to get used to the sounds in this game as well. That trumpet means that I've gone up a level, so I can continue to do that. But you will start to hear different sounds and different tunes and different music coming on when certain animals are attacking, so again, listen out for that, because it's another way that the game is telling you about certain things happening around you. So you can see things are starting to build up nicely. This is just the way I like to store my immediate things, but anything that is my main building materials I like to put in the bookcase, or in the big storage I should say, and everything else is going to go into the mortar and pestle. So I don't have the mortar and pestle yet, and then I have these berries which aren't really going to go into much. However, now that I've got a berry picker with my parasaur, I can put them in Perry. And also, if you don't put any food in there, they will slowly lose health. Now, they're not going to lose a lot of health, but they will lose a bit. I've got some more levels again, so I'm going to level that. So there we go. The campfire I am going to move, so you could pick it up, it will just leave a small bag, so instead I'm going to empty that and then pick it up. Of course I'll lose the light, and I'm going to take the metal over, and then these I think I'm going to grab in a minute, because you're going to see now these start, you see how much that's taken up on the weight? So you know what, I'm actually going to move that over to Perry, and then I think I've done everything I need to get this storage. And then it's up to you. Personally, if I'm building something and I don't need the thatch again, I'll probably just delete it. What's great about it being an open world is you could start a starter base and you could leave your starter base at the beach. I think that's really good when you start exploring the wider map, because you might be travelling halfway across the map and you want to stop in somewhere. And this is when you can then really start thinking about how you want to progress the whole game, because you are going to be playing a lot of hours in order to ascend the arc. And so spend this time thinking a bit about how you're going to do that, what your playstyle is going to be. Are you going to just build one house? Are you going to try and build in the middle of the island? Are you going to be building near certain types of resources? So there's lots of things to be considering. I don't want to put loads in here, I'm going to split this in half. Just quite like the light from there. Everything else is set up. Perry's doing his thing, so I'm just going to clean up the pinned items because I don't need those. I do need stone, but now everything's transferred over. So I can see if I've got stone. I've only got 14, so I'm going to go and get a little bit of stone. This is probably where my hatchet is going to break, and because everything's stored I'm not going to be able to replace it straight away, but that's okay. And you see I need 65 to build the mortar and pestle. And again, you could have done this in the first or second episode. You don't have to wait until this end stage. There you go, I've already hit what I need, so I'm going to go and type in mortar, craft one, and I can already place this. Now, do you remember me saying before that actually I quite like to make a wooden table? So what I like to do is create a wooden table and put it in the house. Now I don't know actually if I've got enough room. One little tip, can you see that on these rocks I'm actually collecting quite a bit of metal? So we call these river rocks, and river rocks have a higher proportion of metal in them. As you upgrade your weapons later, when you get your smithy, you can get more metal from the river rocks, but also then from metal nodes, which will be further in on the island. So this is just something to think about at the start, and this is actually why it's quite nice to start on the beach, because then you can actually get access to metal early on. So you see I've actually got 15 metal, so if I go to wood and look at my table, and if I pin that, I've already got 12. I just need 100 wood. Now, I am going to slightly run out of space, but that's okay. I can put my table over there. The only other things I need to maybe think about is my smithy. So maybe my smithy goes there, or maybe my second bookcase goes there, but I could flip these around. If I want a fireplace is going to basically take up a whole, like one wall space, so I would probably place the fireplace in the middle, and then that won't give me loads of space. But you know what? You can always expand and do that later. Who knows? Maybe I build an extension. So don't feel you've got to do everything now. It's not got to be perfect. You can develop it over time. So Perry's doing alright. I've set this as a quick whistle. This is something I didn't explain when we were getting the creatures and I was being attacked. There are commands that you can do for your creatures using whistles. I would suggest that you start getting comfortable using them. The other thing you can do is press and hold, and you can do generic things. So if I'm wandering around when I was being attacked, I just whistled, and that means any creature nearby will go into passive flee, can go into neutral, can go into attacking, can attack your target. So you've got plenty of options there. You want to get really good with this, because when you're being attacked, it's really annoying when you've got creatures running around. Creatures, by the way, if I start using my pike, I could kill Perry in like 2 hits. And when you're getting attacked by a tiny creature and you destroy your only mount, it's really annoying. So do watch out for that. So I've got a couple more things I want to upgrade here. Again, it's a bit annoying I can't see loads in here. There are a couple of upgrades we can do for that. You could put a standing torch inside the house, but I just think that looks a bit messy, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to bear with it. And you can see I need 12 metal and 100 wood, so I've not got enough wood. Could place the mortar on the floor. Again, I'm not a big fan of that. And because I want to just try and tidy up everything as part of this session, let's try and do this as well as we can. So I think I put all the other hide in here. Yep. And I've still got my bookcase here. To be honest, I would probably change it. So this is where maybe I'd change the design of the house. Could leave it as I've done because I've already put lots of things in there. Or I might decide to store these slightly differently because they can stack side by side, which is really nice. And that's probably the most efficient way to do it because I've got windows and stuff, so it's not really going to work over there. But I could put my smithy in the corner here, my refiner I could put there, I'm going to put a table there, so probably have enough room, could probably put this side by side, at least until the fireplace comes. So for the moment it's not really a problem. A couple of the things I want to do as well. Perry, we need to get him a saddle, so once I have sorted out the wood for the wood table, I'm going to get a saddle for Perry. Again, this is where the game does become a bit more of a grind, and you have to decide if that's the kind of game you want to play, but you can get more efficient with it. So you can decide, do you want to do this at this early stage when you're doing everything, or do you want to leave some of the grinding till a bit later when you've got some creatures that can help you do it? I think either of those pathways are possible, but of course there are bigger challenges with taking on some of the bigger dinos straight away. Again, you're not going to know necessarily how to tame them. Yes, you can go onto the wiki, yes you can go onto the Dododex and have a look. All that's going to take you a little bit more time, so feel free to explore that. There you go, that's my hatchet going. I need a bit of flint, so I'm pretty close. I'm just going to go to a local rock here. Because I've got enough now, I can just press 1 again. And 2, I've got enough, so you know what, I'm going to repair that. Remember, I have to do that from this menu. And yeah, I need a bit more wood, don't I? But for me, this is the thing that makes the game so interesting, you know, and honestly, you could be playing this, enjoying building something, and then 2 seconds later, a big dinosaur comes and kills you. And whilst that is also frustrating, it does make the game really fun, because you never quite know what's going to happen. So, I didn't bring the metal out with me, which was a bit silly, so now I've got to walk all the way back. The other thing I said I was going to do was get a saddle. Thankfully the Moss Shops doesn't need one, but Perry does need a saddle. But the good thing is, because we've been harvesting for a little while, I probably have everything that I need, because from recollection I think it's just hide, thatch and fibre. So we're going to get back, I'm going to get the table set up. Again, you don't need a table. As you continue to play the game, you're going to decide on the way you want to set up certain things. to organise your house just like you would in the real world, right? Who's going to put a fridge on the top of their roof? I mean, that would just be crazy. So you just get to decide where you want to do these things. I need to get some more metal. I need 12, but if I transfer that over, then I can get my table. Because I don't need any more, I'm going to transfer that back. I'm going to transfer these over. And then I am ready to put down my table. And because that's a slightly more complicated build, that's given me some more experience as well. So this sometimes happens when you're trying to put down something because the original setting wants it to snap. So if you press Q, then it lets you free place it, and then actually you won't have any issue. And I'm going to place it there, so I'm going to place that down, and I'm going to place my pestle and mortar there. As I place it down, go in there, and look, now I can start putting things in the pestle and mortar. So I can put those elements, I can go back to Perry, get all of my berries, and put all of these in there. And so you see, it really makes sense to build a house and get these things set up, because then actually you're not having to run around struggling to put everything in 1 or 2 storage spaces. And I just think it makes the game so much more enjoyable. And there you go, I think that's a perfectly nice starter home. It's nothing crazy, it's set up, it's nice, it's on the beach, I'm just straight out onto the water, very accessible, and a perfect starter home. So, what are a few other things I can get you to think about in this series? Oh, there you go, there comes that seagull again. So he's back. I might just call Perry over, just in case it's aggro to Perry, which I think it has. Perry's not going to do much in terms of starting, but remember what I said about being not careful? Yeah, you see. Problem is, I don't want to hit Perry with my... yeah, there you go, I think it's aggro to me now, so... Oh, these are annoying. They definitely are probably the most annoying part of the game. But because I've got a good pike, I can kill him. Again, you can use your slingshot, you could use your bow and arrow. I've never got particularly good with them, so that's the way I tend to handle them. There you go, we've gone pretty much through the night. It's 5:23, the sun's coming up. This has gone out. I'm going to turn him off follow. This gets really annoying if you don't do that. And then they end up trying to walk into the house, and then you can't get out of the house, and then you have to start taking down walls. So, again, it's just some parts of the game are a little bit clunky, and you just have to get used to it. But there you go, I can do that and that. Perry definitely needs a saddle. So if I go to Parasaur, and because I opened up the engram, I've already got what I need. So all I need now is 15 wood, which I'm sure I must have, 50 fibre, and 80 hide. And there you go, look. And I can do that. So I type in Parasaur again, and I've created my first creature saddle. And to be honest, once you've done that, you've kind of done everything as a beginner. And that really signals the end of this series, because now I've got basically everything that I need to start a good game on the island. I've got a base, I've got a house, I've got some storage, I have started to explore my area, I've got an idea of where I am on the map, and I've got some storage. I'm starting to set up my pestle and mortar. Look, I can already get some narcotics. Now that I've got some narcotics going, I can start creating some other things that I haven't done yet. So I haven't created a bow. Look, the bow's there ready. I could create the stone arrows. I also haven't created those yet. Need to take this off because I've done all those. And you can see then very quickly you're able to level up. And again, everything's where I need it. So I've got some flint. I haven't got some thatch. So again, this is where actually I would spend some time grinding some materials, because everything is set up in the base. And that's really what I'm going to say that you should start doing. So I'm going to do a little bit more of this with you, and I just want you to start exploring the island. Ark Ascended for me is such a good game, and I think because I haven't played Ark Evolved, I haven't had to work through some of the frustrations that I know some people had about the fact that the game was basically remade. And they released a load of things and then stepped away from Ark Evolved, and then they sort of went back and did a bit more work on Ark Evolved because that's had a bit more of a resurgence since Ark Ascended. So, and again, it just depends what type of game you want to play. I like to play games that look really nice, that I enjoy the worlds that I'm in, and this game just looks amazing. And honestly, you've not even seen the most amazing parts, and some of the other maps just look insane. So I think we've basically covered everything. We've got weapons, we've got upgrades. I think I noticed a drop earlier and I didn't get it, so that's something that you would want to think about. It's obviously timed out. Molly's over there doing her thing. Let's just check in with her because we've not seen her for a while. And look, she's already been collecting things. We've got some of the berries. Again, I don't need to wait, I could sit on her and I could do that as well. Again, she's pretty over encumbered here, but I could... Oh, let's just go, it's really slow. But I want to get to these bushes because I'll get a bit more fibre. There you go. And I could get a few more berries off her. Remember, you can throw some of these off, so if you're really just wanting a few of the berries, I like to keep the major berries. I just pop those back on, don't need that. And again, look, she's off doing her thing. I can be off working on my house and upgrading, maybe working on my bow and arrow. So, I think this is where we're going to end the episode. So I'm hoping that helps you with the start to Ark, the start to building a nice base. Just get started. Don't be afraid to die. I thankfully have only died once, but I'm hoping that some of these hints and tips along the way will help you. But play your own style, explore it, enjoy it, and as ever, if you've enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe if you're not already, and if you want us to continue the series, do let me know, but there's going to be plenty more content coming out for Ark Ascended. For now, as ever, explore, analyse, simulate, and I'll catch you the next time. Bye for now.